The wind howled across the wide open plains of Montana Territory, carrying dust and the scent of pine. Settlers came and went, most searching for land, others for fortune, and a few for something as simple as survival. Mary Beth Collins was one of the latter. At 23, she had traveled west with a wagon train that dwindled, starved, and scattered. By the time she reached the foothills of the Bitterroot Range, she was barefoot, half-starved herself, and with only her late mother's cast-iron skillet clutched to her chest. When she stumbled upon the Barkay Ranch, her hair was tangled, her dress patched beyond dignity, and her eyes hollow from weeks of hunger. The ranch yard was alive with noisy cattle lowing, men shouting, hammers ringing on wood. And at the center of it all stood a man as tall and broad as a barn door. The ranch hands called him the Giant Rancher, for his shoulders filled doorways, and his hands could hold a fence post as if it were a twig. Rumors said he once broke a grizzly's back with a single blow. To Mary Beth, he looked as terrifying as he did unshakable. She approached him with trembling legs, her skillet still in hand like a shield. "I ain't pretty, sir," she blurted, her voice raw from dust and silence. "But I can cook." The yard went quiet. Ranch hands leaned on fence rails, smirking or whispering. Caleb studied her, his storm-gray eyes lingering not on her ragged dress nor her dirt-streaked face, but on the way she held herself like someone refusing to break, no matter how the wind blew. "What makes you think I need a cook?" Caleb finally rumbled, his voice deep as distant thunder. Mary Beth swallowed hard. "Because men who work this much eat like wolves. I can make bread out of nothing but flour and patience. I can stew a rabbit till the bones melt. I can stretch bins to feed 20. You give me a place by your fire, I'll give you full bellies." The rancher's gaze sharpened. He gestured toward the cookhouse. "Follow me." Inside, the air reeked of scorched beans and grease. A pot blackened with soot sat neglected over cold cools. Plates crusted with old fat were stacked like a crime scene. Caleb folded his massive arms. "Our last cook quit 2 weeks ago. Men been complaining. You think you can do better?" Mary Beth set down her skillet with care, as if she were setting a crown on a throne. She tied up her sleeves with a strip of torn fabric, found flour in a sack, and water in a barrel. Within minutes, she had dough rising by the hearth. She chopped onions with a knife so dull it bent under pressure, boiled beans with lard, and set a kettle of coffee to perk. The ranch hands wandered in, drawn by the scent. When Caleb tasted the bread hot, golden, and soft in the middle, he grunted once. "She stays." Mary Beth worked from before dawn till the stars rose, filling the ranch with the smell of biscuits, venison stew, pies made from choke cherries, and coffee strong enough to wake the dead. The men, once restless and brawling, grew steadier. They stopped sneaking off into town, for nothing in town could match her meals. But it wasn't just her food that made the difference. Mary Beth had a way of listening. She'd nod quietly when a young ranch hand spoke of missing home, or she'd hum a tune her mother once sang when someone nursed a wound. She was plain, yes, but her kindness warmed the coldest corners of the ranch. As for Caleb, he noticed. At first, it was small things, the way her hands never stopped moving, kneading or stirring, as if she could beat life back into herself through work. Then he noticed how she faced storms head-on, walking into wind that would make most women hide indoors. And one night, when a cougar prowled near the ranch yard, it was Mary Beth who struck the pan with an iron ladle until the beast slunk away. "You're not afraid of much," Caleb said that night, standing in the doorway while she cooled her skillet. Mary Beth shrugged. "Fear don't put supper on the table." The men began whispering about the giant rancher and the settler girl. Caleb ignored them. He had no use for gossip. But one evening, after a long cattle drive, he returned to find Mary Beth asleep on the kitchen bench, apron still on, her hand resting protectively over her skillet. He bent low, his shadow falling across her face. For the first time, he saw beauty, not the kind in polished faces or fine clothes, but in the weariness etched with courage, in the strength that refused to bow. When her eyes fluttered open, she sat up quickly. "I'll get supper." Caleb caught her hand gently, his rough palm dwarfing hers. "Number. Sit. You've done enough." She stared at him, confusion in her tired eyes. "Enough? Sir, you don't understand. Cooking's the only thing I have to give." His voice was soft, though it rumbled still like distant thunder. "You gave us more than food, Mary Beth. You gave us a home." By the time the first snow fell, the Barkay Ranch no longer whispered about the settler girl who came begging. They spoke instead of the woman who turned the ranch into family. And when Caleb Kane, the giant rancher, finally asked her to stay not as a cook, but as his wife, Mary Beth answered with the same words she had spoken that first day. "I ain't pretty, sear a broken bar, but I can cook." Caleb only smiled, lifting her small hand in his. "You're more than pretty. You're everything." And for the first time in her long, weary life, Mary Beth believed it.